I'm going to say it one more time before we get Angelo Cataldi on here. You have one of the top 4 teams that can win the Super Bowl. Make no case about. They played exceptional. I don't know about you, but I came away from that game doing this. Jalen gets this benefit. Man, he wins. Well, he wins. That's a commentary for people who carry your football team to wins. Like Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes didn't play well this year. They win because of Mahomes. Josh Allen, they win because of those guys. Lamar, they're not winning right now because of Jalen Hurts. Okay? They're just not. I've said it 52 times, you have a good team. So I could not wait. And by the way, you beat that Packer team up. Why did that game feel like it was 75-0 and it was a 6-point difference? I can't wait to hear Angelo's take. Because by the way, folks, he may be completely different than how I saw that game, and that's why I love him. All that being said, our dear friend Angelo Cataldi, the Eagles move on now to the divisional round. He joins us now here on the National Football Show here. And I don't know, Angelo.
No, I'm sorry, Dan. I was much like A.J. Brown. I was reading. I found out today. A.J. Brown, the book he was reading, is #1 on Amazon. So I'm using the same thing. Buy my book.
Hey, I thought he was reading War and Peace on the sideline. I said that yesterday. And I didn't know he was such a scholar and so not engaged in the game with that yesterday. What an absolute disrespectful look that thing was. I mean, I don't know. Angelo, give me your takeaway. I mean, you know what? I think I have caught your disease. No. You know what that is? I'm never happy. I don't know what it is. I'm never happy. Help me out on this. Please, right. Dr. Angelo. Yeah. Please, Dr. Cataldi, tell me how I can get over this.
Well, all right. Let me just say that I don't agree with you on Hurts. I really don't. And here's why. All right. I watch these games and it's like I'm fully immersed. There's nothing that happens in my life that takes more of my concentration than watching a game. And there were 2 moments in the game yesterday that to me said, Hurts is fine, relax, it'll be okay. The 2 times that they got with the Packers by the way, the Packers played a horrible football game. They were just abysmal, all right? But there were 2 times in the second half where they got within a 1-score game, a 7-point difference and a 6-point difference. And I went, all right, this is where you'll see if your quarterback is handling the situation right. Both times, sustained drives leading to points that made it a 2-possession game. When they needed him to perform, when they needed the key 3rd down throw, when they needed him to run for a first down, in big moments, he was still there. Is he rusty? Yeah. He didn't play for almost a month. I'm telling you, Dan, when they need that young man to perform, he will perform. I learned this by watching McNabb, because McNabb was the opposite. Yeah. When a disaster was happening, it would cave in. This guy is composed. He's calm. He's fine. To me, I'm not that worried. There was other things that happened in that game that made me nervous. The fact that our offensive coordinator in a big game got 1 ball to A.J. Brown. 1 ball. 3 targets in the whole game. Now that, you want to question, so you question that. But to me, when I needed the quarterback to come up big, the quarterback still came up big. And yeah, 131 passing yards. I know all the things that were, little alarms going off to people. He never worries me. That kid, I just feel that in big moments, his composure will take over. And that's what I thought happened yesterday.
The A.J. Brown stuff, how did you take that? I mean, Honestly, can I tell you what I first thought it was?
Yep.
I thought it was like a playbook or something that they were drawing up like play designs. I'm like, what's he reading? And then when I heard it was some book of inspiration, like this guy's reading the book of Moses or something, I'm like, what's he doing there? So he's so not engaged because he only got one catch. Tell me how you took that whole scene.
That is it. No, that was a signal. AJ Brown doesn't do stuff like AJ Brown knows when the camera's on.
I thought that was a metaphor too for how he felt.
And he was saying, they don't want to use me. Fine, I'll read. Oh, I'm serious, Dan. I really believe he was sending a message in his own. I loved it. This guy, for talk show hosts, even retired ones, there's no one like this guy. Well, then I guess they don't need me today. I'll read some inspirational passages for when they do.
Hey, Angelo, do you think he does it just he's like he's like AJ. I used to call him AJ Owens.
Yeah.
So
he is like him.
He just does things differently and not adversarially, and he's more of a metaphor guy, which makes him actually a little smarter than what T.O. was.
He is smart. First of all, when he does this stuff, and that was a whole different approach. I was passive aggressive compared to throwing a tantrum on the sideline, which he's done. He's saying to you, why aren't you using me? And he's right. Again, yesterday, he's right. When you throw him the ball, he makes stuff happen. You don't want to throw him the ball? He'll read. He'll make a book no one's heard of, the #1 bestseller today on Amazon. That's what he did. That's how big the NFL is there, that he could turn that into a best-selling book. And he had passages out highlighted like he was having a test. The guy is awesome. I love the guy. He's my favorite Eagle. He is my favorite Eagle because he never stops creating stuff.
Oh my God. I agree. And there's two things he does that you and me love. This guy's a content machine and he produces. Yes. You can't get anybody better than that.
No. And the fact that there are games that they basically give him off is ridiculous to me because he makes plays. Get him the ball.
Oh, yes.
What is in your game plan that is better than throwing the ball to one of the best receivers the Eagles have ever had? What's better? What do you got? You got 5 more runs into the line? Yeah, that works. But I wouldn't leave that guy out of any game plan I had. I love the way he plays. And Devontae, too. They got even this kid Dotson now is starting to show a little bit. He made a nice play and a touchdown. Dan, here's my take for the game. I watched every minute of every game this weekend, and I will again tonight. The Eagles have the best roster in the NFL.
Yes.
I really believe it in terms of both sides of the ball and big-time talent. And even losing Dean, they still got a lot there. They got to do it. This is absolutely – I did a podcast last week with Irving Fryer, who I worked with like 30 years ago. And we both said the same thing. This is the year. You may never get back to this point, this healthy, with this much talent. And in an NFL this year with no team like way above the others. This is it, Dan. This is it. They got to win 3 more games this year. And if they do, my prediction of 5 wins in the year will be one of the worst in the history of podcasts or broadcasting. It will be one of the worst. I will fall on that sword and go, well, there's never been a worse prediction than that. The year they won the Super Bowl, I had them 5-12.
Well, Angelo, I would say this. It might be the worst prediction since 1912 when they said the Titanic wasn't sinkable. So, I mean.
You're right. That's a perfect one. That'll never go down.
2 hours it went down, it was over. I mean, so you do. Is it too soon? Sorry if it's too soon. Hey, listen, I mean, so you think this football team has the
Yeah.
best opportunity of any team that's in the playoffs left,
Yes.
both AFC and NFC, to win this whole thing.
They have the most talent. And their coordinators, even though Kellen Moore had a bad game yesterday, Fangio had a great game yesterday.
Great game.
And I got the other part. Yeah, the Eagles, you saw how much a team is lacking in the Packers. The Packers, what was their game plan? What part? They're down 9 with 5 minutes to go, and they're running the ball with their backup running back into the line, chewing up clock, down 2 scores. Were you watching that and going,
Yeah.
is Andy Reid managing the clock back at 2005 again?
I think he gets too. I think Matt LaFleur sometimes, Angelo, every time he gets in the playoffs, like he did a couple of years ago when they, instead of going for it on 4th down, they punted.
Right.
I think he gets a little bit too conservative with how he manages those really tight games. I think that's still a flaw in his coaching approach.
Without a doubt. Now, there's a couple other things, though, that haven't been said that need to be said. And I wrote this on my blog today at angelocatali.com. Very first play of the game. Am I hallucinating, or were there 2 mistakes by the officials?
Yes.
Number one, there was the guy that fumbled the ball. Nixon, he recovered the ball. He was down. The play was dead.
The overhead showed you he recovered it.
And here's one that the broadcast ignored. If that isn't helmet to helmet, what's helmet to helmet?
Yeah.
A guy hit him right in the crown of his head against his face mask. Is that helmet to helmet?
Yes, it was.
No one. And that Tom Brady, please leave. Tom Brady is awful. It's so bad. You're going, the guy's the greatest player ever played. He's a brilliant quarterback. He doesn't notice helmet to helmet. Nobody in the truck is saying to him, hey, bring up helmet to helmet. Sterator's in the corner. He's at the corner of the car. He's on a computer. The guy's there for that freaking play. Nothing. They don't even go to him. Nothing happens. I'm going, well, look, thank you. I'm rooting for the Eagles. How did you miss that?
Yeah.
How did you miss it?
Absolutely. I thought the officiating was terrible. Absolutely.
It was so bad. It was, but the Packers, they're throwing 4th down balls. The guy's out of bounds. They got a guy hitting a Saquon after the way out of bounds.
Yeah.
1st down, clinches the game. They just played a horrible football game. I don't even know how much you can gauge the Eagles based on playing that team yesterday. They were not ready to play, and they had an awful game plan, which they executed dreadfully. It was awful.
Have you seen anybody in a storyline like Zach Bond before, where you've seen a guy? I mean, Angelo, this guy was a special teams guy,
right,
in New Orleans, and you got one of my favorite things is watching the little guy on the sidelines there and getting Howie there, man. He's got to get his FaceTime. He's got to make sure he gets his FaceTime. I tell you what, I love the FaceTime. I'm going to give him credit though, Angelo.
Yeah,
he's built a hell of a roster here.
He did.
He does like the media, and he does like to be in front of all that. Maybe rightfully so in what he's done. But what do you think is a bigger sign, the Barkley sign or finding this guy Bond?
That one, no one saw that. No one saw that.
No one.
I've always believed in every sport, Dan, there are certain guys that would have been great, but never really got the shot. This is an example of. They never noticed that he was good before he got to the Eagles, and the Eagles said, here, save our linebacker core. That guy is always near the ball. He's sticking people. You look at the Eagles haven't had a linebacker that good. How many years? A decade, 2 decades? Jeremiah Trotter, maybe? Yeah. I mean, it's that far. I mean, the original Jeremiah, not his son. The original. They don't. That guy, look, they Love threw him the ball. I mean, Love threw the ball right to ball. But I've seen a lot of players drop it. He in the moment, that guy is where the ball is, and he's making the plays. And I love watching him because the Eagles they've never prioritized that position. And he's showing you how a great linebacker can impact the game. And he's incredible. And the whole defense, my God, the two guys in the middle, Jacobs couldn't do anything except for one play the whole game. They mauled him. He didn't go anywhere. Nolan Smith, wow, second year. Where'd that come from? We thought he was a bust.
I did.
He played great. No, Vic Fangio, what he has done this year is one of the best coordinating coaches jobs I've ever seen. He took that defense.
31st.
How bad it was the end of last year.
31st.
31st in the league. And they're first 1 year with a couple of additions. Not that much different than what they had before. And now they're fantastic. And that's why they got to win it. If they don't win it, we should all start. Your negativity should go to max 10 position, because that's got to be a coaching mistake. Because this team should win the Super Bowl. This team has a better shot than 2 years ago.
Wow.
No doubt. No doubt.
So it's Super Bowl or bust for you,
Yes.
Angelo.
Without a doubt. This year, they have more talent than the team that was 2 years ago, and more talent than the team that won it in 2017. This is the most talented Eagles team I can ever remember. They should win it.
So
Yeah.
the 04 team, the 17 team, the 22 team, and now this. You think this is the best roster of players?
Yes, I'm positive.
Of what you've seen.
Those teams in the early aughts, those teams there that were going to the championship game every year, they didn't have these kind of receivers. They didn't have this many weapons. When did they ever have a Saquon Barkley?
No, Freddie Mitchell, right? And those dudes, those guys, Macklin and them guys, they were good, but they weren't like these guys.
The reason and the line, my God, they lost Jason Kelsey, and they're better this year. They're better without Kelsey. Who would have predicted that?
No way.
I mean, that line is phenomenal. And they just, you know what they did yesterday? They just took the Packers and beat the crap out of them. It got to the point in the fourth quarter where the Packers, there was a Packer hurt on every play for like 2 series. They have to keep stopping and coming out and getting the carts out and hauling them off the field. It was like the body bag game in 1990. The famous game, the most popular favorite game Philadelphia ever saw, is when the Eagles on Monday Night Football beat the hell out of the Redskins, and they were hauling them out in body bags. It was like that yesterday in the fourth quarter. The Packers, my God, they shouldn't have even made the flight to Philly. They were awful.
Jerome told me about that body bag game. He called me up. He goes, "You watch this thing?" I was in the league at the time, and I go, "Yeah, no." I saw that thing, man. That thing was a mess. They were hitting people out of the back of the end zone over at the vet. I mean, they were looking to hurt everybody in that.
They were.
Right?
It was great. It was so good.
Hey, Angelo, who are you more concerned about? Them closing this thing, Kellen Moore or Nick?
Well, I'm always concerned about Nick, but more now than ever, I'm convinced that he's doing next to nothing. I'm positive. See, as long as there aren't tough strategic decisions to make, and he just stays on the sideline and acts like a clown, which he still does all the time. Watching him, I mean, my God, you just get but those other guys are in charge. And that's why I think they're a lot better off than they were 2 years ago. Because 2 years ago, Sirianni was involved with the planning of the offense and even some of the defense. Gannon and Steichen and those guys. He's not, I don't see him. So Moore had a bad game. Kellen Moore had a game plan that did not exploit all of the weapons that the Eagles have. And everybody today is talking about Hurts, but give him a better game plan, and I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think Hurts is fine. Watch him in key moments. That's how you can gauge whether the player who's running your offense is a winner. And he's a winner. He knows how to win the game. Those long drives at the end of close games, he doesn't turn the ball over when it could be fatal. He's smart, and he'll be fine.
Who would you rather see from tonight's ball game? Would you rather play against Minnesota, or would you rather go against Stafford and the Rams?
I want the best. I want to beat the Vikings. I think I also love Minnesota, their fan base. 500 of them or so will brave it to come to the link and will regret it. All right. This has happened before. All right.
Wait a minute. Skull doesn't like to show up in Philly.
They honestly, Dan, they come here with their hopes so high, like they were in 17. That was one. And then they just get crushed. And I don't believe Sam Darnold is that good all of a sudden. I just think he hasn't met a team that's going to test him. The Eagles should really have. Look, they could beat either team. There's no doubt in my mind they could beat either team. Let's do the Vikings and then do the Lions and then do the Chiefs and then hold a parade, because that would be the ultimate. And it's got to be the stinking Chiefs. I know I'm way ahead, but it's got to be the Chiefs. I got to see Andy Reid on the sideline with the stupid mustache, with a look on his face like, oh, Mahomes is not saving my ass this year, is he? I got to see him lose a Super Bowl.
So you wanna play a 15-win Viking team next week at home?
I do.
Then you want in the NFC title game the team that won home field. Then you want a team that's going for 3 straight Super Bowls.
Yes.
Will that make this Eagle team the greatest team if they go on that epic run?
You know what? Probably.
Better than the 60 team, better than the 17 team.
See, I didn't see the 60 team, but it's a different world now. It's tougher.
Yes.
You got to get through more hurdles to win championships now. I would say this would be the greatest Eagles team of all time, despite their idiot head coach. Because even if they win it all, Dan, I'll let you know right now, I will still dislike intensely Nick Sirianni. I want you to know that. No matter what happens from here, I will still despise the guy.
Okay, I have to ask you these off football questions.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you're getting ready to buy your season tickets now to the Flyers and Sixers with their giant collaboration now of putting this arena together here. Just your impact and what you think that whole collaboration is going to be now that these guys are going to collaborate to get together now to make that arena and what it means to the Philly sports fans.
That damn Joshua Harris, ironically, the owner of the Commanders,
who's moving on, by the way, will play Detroit this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Although I guarantee you he had nothing to do with the success of the team. I've seen his work, all right? But they played the city. They played Camden. They played everybody for what they ended up with yesterday. The whole thing was getting Comcast to foot a major part of the bill to build the arena they want. That's what this was. This was like everything else Harris has done his whole life. It's about making money. He can get a better deal in the sports complex. He can spend less money. He'll fleece, believe me, all of our cable bills are about to go up because he's going to get it out of Comcast. He is a brilliant businessman, but he made a lot of people look stupid. And he put that neighborhoods around Chinatown through the ringer for years to get his way. And then, Dan, even the way they did it, they try to sneak the announcement out the day of an Eagles playoff game, a Sunday morning news dump. I mean, they have no shame whatsoever. But now I look at it and go, he never was going to do that arena in Chinatown. He knew the traffic issues. He knew what he was going to be doing to that community. He just used them to get a better deal at the original spot. And that's what happened.
It's like trying to push a budget for the government on a Friday night when everyone's at a holiday and everyone's got a Monday holiday and you're trying to get it pushed through.
Angelo, they just have no shame.
No, I see this now.
No shame.
What happened? Angelo, I grew up with the Flyers being exceptional. Okay. Bernie Perron, all these guys playing against the Islanders when I was younger. And every time when I was working down in Tampa and they would play the Flyers, it was absolutely Philadelphia sports fans everywhere for that team. I used to get Ed Snyder on my program. I loved the guy. Bobby Clark, I don't know whatever you think of him. I mean, he would come on the show, but I never really thought he was the greatest executive, but I loved him as a player. Okay. Yes. I thought he host jobbed Lindros a little bit and how that whole thing was handled. But what's happened to the Flyers, man? How come and why are they in the shape that they're in? I know that one of your guys and one of my friends now is the president of operations there now. Yes. But gee, what happened to that franchise?
All right. They what happened was for many, many years, Ed Snyder's loyalty to his players caused them to fail repeatedly because he kept putting players in charge of the organization. Clark, Paul Holmgren, Ron Hextall, none of them knew how to do that job well. All right. Keith Jones is there now. I work with him for 20 years. I communicate with him regularly. He has assured me, and he is the president of the team, that next year, keep your eyes out. You're going to see a different hockey club. And I believe him. He said, we need the rest of this year. We got to work out the other things we got. And then you put the pressure on us because then we're ready to win. And I believe him. I believe him because I know he is a unique entity in sports organizations. He is somebody who is not necessarily the smartest guy about players or any of that stuff. He knows people and he'll put the right people in spot. So I'm giving him now a year from now, if they stink, I will be torturing him with text messages telling him, Jonesy, you should have never left broadcasting. You suck as a president. But I'm not there yet because I have a lot of faith in him. And I need to see it in the next year. You're right, though. They've asked these fans to wait a long time. Man. There was a time when they sold out every seat to every game just out of loyalty. No more now. It's time to start winning. They got to do it.
Do you think the Sixers are in that position right now, too, that they've worn out the 76ers and the Philly faithful now where they're going to be rolling down that same road right now pretty soon, too? Because I can't think you're sitting there waiting for the process.
The Sixers are a lost cause. They're not going anywhere, and they're not doing anything. And I'm telling you right now, I'm watching to see if they can even turn it around enough this season to make it into the playoffs. But when you're paying a guy $50 million a year, and you don't know from day to day whether he's going to be able to play for you, what are your chances? Well, you think you're going to just turn it on the last 30 games, win 25, get into the playoffs, and then blow people out? No. They built the foundation on the creaky legs and weird personality of Joel Embiid, and it's going to cost them. They're going, and within the next couple of years, Dan, you know what we're going to hear? We need to start a new process. Trust the process. Here we go again. Here we are down at the bottom of the league.
Remember, Angelo, the line used to be, hey, if we build it, you will come. Now it's like, you build it. Yeah. Now I want you to come. No, man, you got to build a team for me to give you my tax money. I've never seen a fan base loyalty to teams and the civic pride that Philadelphia has that will just bend over for whatever they want and these owners. And by the way, Angelo, the media people in your town today have really, no disrespect, because I know many of these folks are your friends, but I think some of them, I think they sip on Similac. I think they have breast milk in some of their cups now because these guys are so soft and they at the ninny of these organizations now that whatever they do, it's so sad now. I mean, this story here with Howard Eskin, and by the way, I'm trying to get Howard on. He said that he's going to try to come on this week, and he wants to clear the air on some of the things that were said from you. And he said this. And by the way, Marcus Hayes contacted me. Funny, Angelo, 4:30 in the morning, he contacted me on some of the stuff that you said. And they said that as you were talking, they had a story in the hopper. They put it out at 4:05, as you were saying. Marcus Hayes, I happen to believe and I happen to love. He's one of the last true guys in your market that I believe it comes from the heart and comes from nobody telling him. But boy, I got to tell you, I just don't know what to make of this Eskin story. You know, he's trying to do whatever he can to stay relevant and wants to be hired. Just give me your take on what you've seen over this last week with that story.
Look, the guy's a pioneer in the field that I went in. He charted the way for me and many others. I have a debt to him. At the same time, what I said on your show the last time, there were over 24 eyewitnesses to the incident at Chickies and Pete's. There is a videotape of what happened. So if he wants to change the narrative to where he never really had contact with the women he got into dispute with, it's not true. I don't know how many witnesses you need to tell you exactly what happened before you know what happened. And the woman did not file a complaint against Howard based on nothing. And they did not decide to ask Howard to leave WIP for good based on nothing. They had the story. It took them almost 2 weeks to get all the details. It was not hard to get the truth of the story because so many people saw it. Look, he wants to keep working. I hope somebody hires him. I hope he gets that opportunity. I don't think either of the incidents that he did were so heinous that they should end his career. From what I understand, and this is what I've learned by witnessing what happened with him a year and a half after I retired. Howard and I are the same age, right? And what I sensed, and I don't think he did, was that things you could do 10 years ago, definitely 20 years ago, 30 years ago, simply can't happen now. And he's a victim of that he came up through these ranks when you, there is stuff I said, Dan, 10 years ago that would have gotten me fired the last year I was there. No question about it.
Yes, sir.
2 incidents that ended Howard's tenure at WIP were both incidents that would have been nothing 20 years ago. Something 10 years ago, but probably not something that would force you to have to resign. He just didn't adjust to the time. One of the reasons I left was I didn't trust myself anymore. I knew the lines were moving all the time. Can I make that comment? Is that going to get an FCC complaint and then they're going to call me in? I was constantly worried about that because I grew up at a time when the rules were a lot different than they are now. So look, I know he's trying to save whatever's left of a career that has gone on for half a century, and I hope he succeeds at it. But if he's telling you that the accounts that came out about what happened are not accurate, he's ignoring the fact that there were tons of eyewitnesses and there is a tape.
Angelo, I would make this point to what you said. I think for guys like you and me who came up in that era, I came up in the Randy Michaels era. That's the guy who found me in radio. And Randy Michaels was the guy that schooled me. I mean, Angelo, I'll say something. I mean, and he used to show up down with J-Core Radio. He would have a dildo around his neck and walk around the offices with it and thought it was funny. Well, you can't do that shit anymore today with the way people are. You just can't act like that. And he was so over the top in some of the things that he did at J-Core, and I'm a J-Core guy. You can't do that stuff. You have to evolve. My wife constantly tells me about evolving in the business today. It goes like this. The locker room talk you had 15 years ago, that is not acceptable today because people are not going to have the sense of humor, and they're not going to understand what you're going and where it lands, because that's what I'm a big believer in right now. The things that you and I thought would land here are now landing over here, Angelo. And if you can't identify that, then you're not evolving in the business. And that's why for me, radio, I said radio for me is not for me any longer because there's too many guardrails.
There's a lot of guardrails. And at the end of my tenure, I relied on Rhea all the time. If Rhea would give me a look, like, don't go down that road, I'd back off. My own judgment, I no longer trusted because I'm in my 70s.
Is that really why you left? Is that
it's
why
a different world when I came in?
Is that really why you left?
Changed?
Angelo, why did you leave? Why did being on top of your game? And by the way, some of these people, they should be kissing your ass because they're standing on the shoulders of what you did with that morning show and how you built that thing up. They should be kissing your ass. You should be a Doug Peterson statue outside of that thing of what you did. But why did you really, what was I never heard it. What was the real reason you left radio and WIP? Because you still had juice left.
I had juice left, but I couldn't. I started to know it was time before the pandemic when names weren't coming to me so quickly. There was a day where I couldn't remember that Deshaun Jackson was a starting wide receiver on the Eagles, and he was one of their best players. And I couldn't come up with a name. And it was like, I wanted to, now I'm trying to edit myself as I'm getting it out. And I realized, wow, I'm 67, whatever I was then, 65. And it's like, I got to start looking at the end of the line here, because there's no way a brain in your 70s is going to work as well as it did in his 40s and your 50s. It wasn't working as well. And, that's why I knew that. And then it was just a matter of figuring out when. And further and further, as I got closer and closer to the end, I relied on Rhea, who was brilliant at being able to get the name on the air, where she could almost read my mind or get me out of a bad spot if I was putting myself in a spot where I could be in trouble and be called in by the bosses. And I relied on her the last few years, more and more and more, and then just waited for the moment when I could get out. And I would have left on a Super Bowl, but Jonathan Gannon ruined it. And now I would love to believe, that 2 years later, I could enjoy a championship by the Eagles strictly as a fan. And I got to say, even though this last weekend, these playoff games were not very good, right? The last night's was pretty good, but the others were not very good. It's still better than any other excitement I have in my life. I love it. I can't wait for 3:00 next Sunday. It's so cool.
Absolutely. Angelo, I love talking with you, man. It's really great. And just hearing you, and boy, I'll tell you what, I mean, you shake them up. Last week, do you know how many people text me?
Come on, I'm sorry. I was
I got
it on Amazon. Oh yeah, I get the wrong side. I don't even know how to do this.
Absolutely. Hey, absolutely. If that guy, it shows you the power of the Eagles, man. I mean, make that book #1 on Amazon.
And it looks boring as hell, Dan. My book's got to be better than that thing, right?
Absolutely, it is better than that
#1.
Absolutely. Angelo, thank you, my friend. Hey, Angelo, man, can we make a date next Monday? Because following the Eagle game versus whomever, can we make a date next Monday?
Oh, let me check my schedule. Oh, wow. Yes, I can. Just name the time, Dan.
I will, Angelo. I'll text you out of time. Thank you, my friend.
Take care, Dan.
You bet. Our good friend Angelo Cataldi. There, so we just booked it for next week there. Yeah, all good, man. Holy, I'm sorry. Hey, Big Sills forgets shit all the time too. So hey, I think maybe, I don't know. Okay. Hey, by the way, real quick, Angelo didn't agree with me on your boy Hurts. He thinks it's Kellen and Nick. Okay? He thinks it's Kellen and Nick. There. I see all of you in here going, Sills is so hurt. No. I put people on my program that agree and disagree with me. Just like you're allowed to be on my program because you disagree or agree with me. Isn't that sports talk? Isn't that what sports talk is about? People agreeing and not agreeing? What the hell do you think I do here with this show? I put this show together for one reason, so that we have disagreements and agreements and we have conversation and we debate. Yes, if I were going to make a comparison, this is not the National Football Show anymore. This is the true 700 Club. How you doing? I should name this bitch the 700 Club. And no, well, wait, it's like a religion. Okay? You know that religious show, the 700 Club? This is like a religion too. This is the 700 Club. But some people know what that means, and it's a different meaning. This is officially the 700 Club. How you doing? Gary Cobb's going to join us. That'll be at the bottom of the hour, too. And then Zander's going to join us at the top of the hour. Tell me where we are right now on our likes. Please hit that like button, man. I appreciate it. Okay? Please hit the like button. Give me a total on where we are right now. That's right, Sydney. 235. Come on, guys. Let's get that bitch up to 300. I want that thing at 400 before we get the hell out of here. We got 2 more hours to go. Come on now, man. Make your show killer again. The official 700 Club. That's what we got here going on here, man. I like that, too. That 700 Club where things were settled in a whole different way. Do you not agree? Yeah. Right? Handled in a different way here. Don't forget our good friends at BetUS. Great Monday Night Football game tonight. We will talk about that game too tonight. The Vikings and the Rams. Winner will play the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial. And our good friends at BetUS, we've teamed up here with our friends here at JAKIB and along with BetUS for the YouTube 150. That's right. You see it right there. It is a signing bonus of $2K. All you have to do is go and log online. And by the way, your second sign-up bonus is 125%. Your third is also 125%. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts of any website when it comes to signing up with bonuses here. When it comes to sports betting, it's BetUS, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Hell, if you want your own account executive, they will set you up with that as well. Live wagering on all major games. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.